Hello everyone and welcome to the BSGCS Playoffs pre-show number 2. This time it's for semifinals and we're just doing predictions this time because I'm lazy. So roundtable week 2 obviously. This week's matchups are Naughty Nips versus Never Back Down and Guardian Gaming versus All One Lane. We'll start I guess with Naughty Nips versus Never Back Down. Who do you guys think is going to win? And why?
Alright, well, like last week, I'm going to go ahead and be the first one again to state my opinion here. There's been some recent updates that GVG in the house, the jungler for Never Back Down, is unable to make the Sunday game. So that's going to be one of our better players being taken right off the board here. But confidence is going to still stick with me. I can't abandon what I've said last week. I gotta stick with. I gotta commit. I gotta believe. I still gotta believe in Never Back Down. And despite Naughty Nips being an extremely effective and strong opponent, I cannot lose. I cannot give my guys. I can't say we can't do it without a single player. We're going to have to figure out a way to make it work without one. I feel confident that they can do it.
Alright, Blaze.
For that matchup, Never Back Down and Naughty Nips. You know, it's a little rough to say, but especially with the losses of players on Never Back Down, but I feel that Spider Queen and Fred Fredersen are just so oppressive of bot lane that you have to either camp them or they're just going to pop off. So despite the losses that Never Back Down are suffering, I'm going to give them a 2-0. What about you, Army, in terms of score count?
Oh, 2-0? I'm going to say 2-1 with Never Back Down winning that.
Alright. Same minus the one loss.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. Also, though, I would like to point out that it's something I was thinking of starting with, but I forgot about. Our prediction records right now, Army is the only one that's 2-0, depending on whether or not we're counting All One Lane's win.
Yep.
Yeah, which you might need to turn on the Chipmunk for the next explanation, because I can explain that.
Because if we are counting that, puts Army at 2-0, me
and everyone else down.
I'm at 1-1.
I'd be at 0-2.
You guys are both at 0-2. So
it's alright, Blaze. We're just saving it for the championship.
Yeah.
Alright.
You should probably give the official explanation, but actually do it in less than 7 minutes this time.
Oh, come on. Everybody loves the Chipmunk
Fridge
voice.
has yet to
Everybody
give
loves
his
it.
predictions yet. Fridge has yet to give his predictions
Oh, yeah.
yet.
Actually, we'll do that after. Fridge,
Okay.
predict.
Alright, so while I do think Never Back Down has been a very impressive team as of late, and I do completely think that this series could go either way, I'm going to be the first to say that I think Naughty Nips might come away with this win in a very close 2-1 series, I believe. Naughty Nips also knows very well how to win. They did have the bye week to work on, I guess, whatever it is they felt they needed to work on most. They've already looked like a strong team. I guess just mainly synergy with the addition of Hamcam and Lunar Gecko that they had a couple weeks back. But I think it's going to be a very close series regardless, going just slightly in favor of Naughty Nips.
So is that like a 2-1?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2-1.
For Naughty Nips, okay.
Alright.
I'm actually going to go 2-0 Naughty Nips.
Oh, alright.
Because they have Hamcam, who was MVP, and I think their bot lane can stand up to the Never Back Down bot lane as well. Because I think, especially without GVG in the jungle, Never Back Down are probably going to be less strong, especially if the bot lane can be matched. And besides, let's say Hamcam plays his favorite mid lane champion, Veigar. What are you going to do as a Fed ADC versus a Veigar? He's going to press R and you're going to die. So, I'm going to go 2-0 Naughty Nips because they definitely, it looks like their lanes are, I think their lanes are just going to win. They're just going to win the game.
Oh, Manwalrus, they're giving him the idea to ban Vagar away. You're not supposed to give him those ideas.
I mean, currently, one of us is going to be correct.
How do you know he has?
Yeah.
How do you know Hamcam hasn't put me up to hyping up the Vagar so people would ban it? What if it's just
Reverse psychology.
Mhm.
I do have a bit of my own rebuttal to the argument of you Manwalrus and Fridge for the context of Hamcam in particular. There's a bit of history, quite a lot of it for Hamcam on Guardian Gaming when he was originally there, and that history was starting to look a little bleaker and more apparent, I should say, because each one of his games that he was in a participation for were averaging 40 to 50 minute games, like multiple, and this is series games, these are best of 3, and he would have 40 to 50 games almost on repeat for a lot of the Guardian Gaming games, and basically that means, he seems to have a bit of a hard time trying to come to a conclusion early, or in the middle half of games. He seems to really prefer to make decisions and plays that are entirely based on the decisions for this last part of the game, where the final mistake leads to a couple of kills and everything. And that's been Hamcam's kind of kryptonite. It's been, he just doesn't seem to know how to put a game to an end. He really thinks that the best way to solve problems are to just wait until the game is in the perfect position, that it reduces the death timers to a point where it's just like a 2-minute time period where people spawn back in. And that kind of mentality could easily backfire against Hamcam. And we did see that happen when Polarity, long story about Polarity, and I'll just keep it simple, would play against them, and they'd surprisingly beat Guardian Gaming at that time. In the long and short of things, it just seems like if Hamcam does not have a way to put the game to rest at a time that he has the capabilities to do so, then it is extremely possible that Never Back Down wins the game from that. Because Never Back Down has consistently proven with their time frame of games that they want to end the games, they know when to end the games, and are perfectly capable of taking every opportunity to do so. So if Hamcam just does not have a way to bring this game to a close, then Naughty Nips will lose their opportunity to bring this game into their favor, and that's extremely possible.
I think you're confusing one player with the whole team, because Guardian Gaming, he was on the Guardian Gaming team that couldn't close games out. But, I mean, at least according to his interview, he wasn't the reason for it. Also...
I see.
Yeah.
My fault for that. All I was pointing out with that was he was the shot caller, he was the head guy, he was in charge of Guardian Gaming when I made this statement, I was saying when he was in charge of that. I don't know if he's in charge of Naughty Nips, or is the coach of their team, or their leader, or not. But if it is the case, I think he's still got the same issue he's had in the past, is my point on the topic.
I have a slightly shorter rebuttal than yours.
Okay.
First thing would be, Hamcam likes his late game champions. What reason does he not have to push it for late game? Playing champions like Vladimir and Vagar, that only benefits him getting later into the game.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, small correction, he's playing, at least he's... the roster was submitted with him at top lane. Rose in the mid lane.
Oh,
was it submitted at top lane now, huh? Okay. Fair enough. Regardless, he did mention he loves the tank metas.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tank meta.
Mm-hmm.
So expect to see some Zac if he is in the top lane, maybe. Unless Army decides to really be an annoyance and ban it or whatever, but
I'm actually...
if everybody sees this video, it's not going to be my fault. I'm taking the blame right away.
This is Army's choice.
Right.
My second point was going to be we don't know that he's the shot caller there, but you mentioned that.
So...
Again, I have no idea.
Good lord. I never thought I'd be saying this, but I'm actually going to agree, and I'm not going to leave my boy Army Overlord in a 1v2. I'm going to join him on this, but for actually a completely different reason. And that's that Hamcam as a player was frankly, and he was voted MVP for this reason, the best mid laner in the entire league, out of the players that are still there. If he is mid lane, frankly, Naughty Nips have a very good chance of winning. And Never Back Down might be in a little bit of pickle, but they're not sitting in mid lane. He's went from support. No, there's official confirmation that he's top lane. Right after the whole Guardian Gaming change with players in and out, and he went to Always Hostile. Ever since then, it just feels like he's been kind of going in a downwards trend, and he has yet to really shock me. Like, well, that's the Hamcam that's going nuts on Vladimir or something. No, this is just actually feeling like a significantly less impactful Hamcam since he's not in the mid lane. And I feel, with that in mind, especially with how well he performed last week, I feel like if you don't have a Plenta versus Hamcam matchup, I think mid lane's in favor of Plenta here.
Alright, so I guess agree to disagree on that one, but
It is a very tightly contested matchup. It's a coin flip decision at times, and it can be that way.
Let's go to the next series then. Guardian Gaming versus All One Lane. Who's gonna win and why? Starting with Army again.
So I'll explain All One Lane's appearance in this probably a little later in the segment, but I'll go ahead and start right now and say...
just do it now to get it
You
out
think?
of the way. Yeah.
Okay. So, according to what happened, go ahead and speed me up here. According to what happened to Have Faith is shortly after the match, the player called Dirty Power had decided that it would be a good idea to do the following things. He said, one, it was a good idea to listen to Joker Noter in switching his summoner spells. It was also a good idea to listen to, to make this interview very important for him to show up. He needs to be there, so he basically asked his little brother to go to do this interview. Obviously, that ended up becoming a huge red flag that ends up extremely...
That literally made no sense, though.
Yeah, it was a terrible... It was a absolutely
their response
terrible idea.
Just dug their own grave, like, so much more.
I mean, they basically even made their own trouble. Exactly, yeah.
I'm not going to lie.
They realized it and all decided to ditch the league at once. And Have Faith, if you're listening to this, please don't come back.
Oh my goodness!
The one that got me the best. The one that got me the best was when he said he had to play with his summoners on different keys because he was at his friend's house, and I was like, what?
That was just
that
just
doesn't
a
even
terrible
make sense because
excuse.
they changed last season the in-game settings so it's account-based, not computer-based.
That is just
so your account settings follow you no matter where you're playing.
Yeah, not that it's hard to switch what button your summoner spells on anyways.
Just the worst possible excuse. So that led shortly to their disqualification under both Xdon and Dota's understanding of how rules are supposed to be followed. They did, they double-checked to make sure that this was absolutely correct. Because not only that was going on, but there was also a lot of gossip going on with some threats to Mr. Jeremy as well, which is, factually speaking, there is, sadly, no evidence that connects it permanently to this Dirty Power case whatsoever. But what it does do is it does bring up a red flag to what's going on with the actual evidence of account sharing. The coach was in the Champ Select lobby, and the player's behavior during the investigation of the situation. So there was just so much evidence, and it's impossible. Even if, let's say, all of that was falsified, like all of it was wrong.
They made fools of themselves.
By some miracle, all of that was incorrect. And it was actually just him being himself. Dirty Power was actually there, and it was really him, and he just did everything according to their evidence of saying, yeah, he did it, he switched his summoners, he said his brother to do the interview, and whatever. It's just still a violation of the rules here. It's still a violation, and that in itself makes it stronger of a case to imply that Have Faith had no chance.
Yeah, and it's like they kept making fools of themselves afterwards anyway, and they kept trying to deflect the blame anyway, because it's like, oh well, they were making a big point of that we can't prove it's Joker Noter. Well, we can't prove it's Joker Noter. There's very strong evidence suggesting that it was, but it doesn't matter because the rule's not if Joker Noter plays on your account. It's if anyone else plays on your account. So that really doesn't matter. And then they're like, oh, but who's this anonymous person that gave it all the information? That doesn't matter at all either.
Yep.
That person was just compiling evidence. Maybe it was someone from All One Lane who just didn't want to be part of, the shitstorm that was going to erupt.
Right, and bottom line, because of that being the case, Have Faith is now gone, and therefore it now makes my statement of All One Lane winning correct. Although in the most unjustifiable way, I am technically 2-0 because of that. So it is what it is. Both parties have moved on, some of them gracefully, the others have not. If you are fully aware of what we're talking about, you can double check what we're talking about through the hashtag general
chat for a while.
Right.
It lasts for a while.
It's also pinned, by the way, by Dota, so you can actually check it as well.
The graceful exiting message. Actually, let me read that. I played Dota twice. Fuck you, man. Learn how to run a fucking tourney, you white trash piece of shit. Oh my god.
Manwalrus, we can't hear you, please.
I got actually worse than I remember. I'm gonna bleep that out because
It's still funny, but it's really raunchy.
I'll just throw it up on screen instead.
Okay.
I'll play the harp noise.
The world's smallest violin music.
That sounds great.
That's the Have Faith Dunzo manifesto right there. Alright, who's gonna win? Guardian Gaming or All One Lane?
Well, this is actually a really difficult question, because All One Lane, in their game against Have Faith, was struggling quite a bit in the later half of the game. They in their very first game, it was actually a very closely contested matchup. They actually had a bit of a groove, but it slowly started to get away from them when their Have Faith's lineup changed to what it was. The problem was the lanes weren't winning anymore. They were starting to lose their lanes rather forcefully, especially at the top lane position. The top lane got so out of control that it let so much impact of force on the second game. So what All in One Lane needs to do this time around is they have to guarantee that they can control the lanes. They have to actually either force themselves to win these lanes by pushing these towers, taking the farm, getting kills, or they've got to get control of the lane, because that's exactly the main reason why All One Lane was struggling for the next two games after that, which led to their defeat. So, and now led to their second chance. So I would say All in One Lane, I think they can win one game against Guardian Gaming, but I feel like Guardian Gaming is a bit of a different horse now. It's definitely a different race horse than it was during the Super Week. So I think Guardian Gaming is going to get 2 wins from this, and they will come out on top because of the circumstances given, and progress to the Grand Finals on August 20th.
Alright, Blaze?
I'm going to agree, but I'm actually going to say 2-0 Guardian Gaming instead. In their matchup against Have Faith, there were so many things I just had question marks over my head over what All One Lane were doing. Frankly, I believe it's a miracle that they got into the semifinals as they did to begin with, and I tell you what, Manwalrus here stands a better chance of winning the lottery than All One Lane do of making finals. So with that said, here's my reasoning as to why. Game 1, Have Faith versus All One Lane, they banned Gragas when Have Faith already picked Zac, which was a huge question mark in my book, and the only way that they actually won Game 1 was through Have Faith severely overextending and mispositioning in teamfights, and you do the one thing you'd never do against All One Lane, which is you let them play late game. This is a team, this is the 6th seed versus the number 1 seed, and the only way that All One Lane wins games and pops off going nuts, not looking like a 6th seed anymore, is that they get to the 40-minute marker and then they know what to do. If you don't let them get to the 40-minute marker, they're going to be walking around like headless chickens not knowing what to do. So,
now, moving on
and I think
to the
Guardian Gaming
overall
are just
MVP,
a team that's not going to let that happen, so in my book I say it's GOGG here. It's a really weird brand. I mean, if we could compare last time these teams met was in week 2 as well, so it's been a while since they've seen each other, but I think the outcome will be no different.
Alright, Fridge?
Alright, obviously we've all recognized that All One Lane is not quite the pushover team they were in the first week or 2 of the season. Definitely capable of holding their own in a lot of these games, but I do have to agree, I think Guardian Gaming is going to win this series. All One Lane might be able to take a game. Definitely they're capable of it, but I think it's still going to be a 2-0 for Guardian. Guardian has had some roster changes lately, but they've had about 3 weeks now to work on their team synergy, and I think that's the big thing that they needed during those best of ones, was they just started playing with each other and they really had no synergy whatsoever. So I think they're going to come out looking a lot better, playing a lot more as a full unit and not so much as individuals. And I think that they're going to be able to take this 2-0 and punch a ticket to the finals.
Man, you guys are just like directly against all one lane's chances entirely.
I'm not against it. I said they could pick up a game, and I wouldn't put it past them to do so, but I think that's how it's going to end up happening, is it's going to be a 2-0.
Time to be a lone wolf here, alright? I'm going to stick up for all one lane, because they played well. Like, sure, the match versus Have Faith, right? That was a bit of a mess, you know, some of their gameplay, some of their going late game, but they did win that first game, and they did decently well in the other two games, playing against at least one Smurf, possibly more. We're not entirely sure. There could be more than one. But I think that because they're on a hot streak, I think that they might be able to do it. Hero Termina has been a beast the whole season, basically. And also, right, this is a brand new Guardian Gaming. I don't think that we can associate the old Guardian Gaming that was very dominant with the new Guardian Gaming, considering that we haven't seen Emialis at ADC before. Iluvatar, we haven't seen him play yet, and we haven't seen Duyu in the top lane yet. The only people who are returning was Mr. Jeremy, who went back to the jungle, which is where he originally started, and he looked, you know, pretty good in the jungle, of course, because they were winning a ton of games. And Itstitz is back as their support, who was always, you know, one of the best supports in the league. But the thing is, this is a unproven roster as to where all one lane have proven themselves, as well as Guardian Gaming was good for the whole split. They were very good. They were undefeated for a long time, a good amount of time, but the problem is, in these kinds of leagues, it's not the LCS. Roster changes happen, other teams improve at much better rates, and All One Lane is a great example of a team that's started out absolutely terrible and are now contesting for one of the better, maybe even best teams in the league. As to where Guardian Gaming, they've completely changed as well. So it really matters. I think momentum matters much more than their past record in a Golden Under League. And I think All One Lane has that momentum, basically.
2-0 or 2-1?
I'm thinking 2-1. Okay. I think so, especially if Hero Termina gets his hands on Hyper Carry.
So I think me, Blaze, and Fridge also have our rebuttals, but Fridge, I think yours is probably a little bit more spicier than mine, so you can go ahead and say yours.
Pretty much just to Guardian's credit, Emialis was never a mid laner. He's an AD carry main that was put in the mid lane when Guardian was formed. So he was basically, he only knew like 3 or 4 mid lane champions, just because that was the spot that was open. Emialis then moved down to support when I joined, and that's because Mr. Jeremy switched over to AD carry. And after I left, over the course of the next couple weeks, they managed to work him back into the AD carry spot where he's a little more comfortable. So I think he's going to feel a little bit better there even.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess I'll transition to my turn. I think you do have a bit of a point with All in One Lane. They did prove something quite interesting going into their first match against Have Faith. You know, the match actually, I believe, was a 30-minute match, around 30-minute mark, 35, 36, somewhere. They basically did show a good way to put a closure on their opponent. And it was, they were looking very prime, and they were looking very good to do so. However, that's the thing about looking prepared in that circumstance, because sometimes that can work against you when it comes into the mentality of the next game. I think that's where the strong factor kind of comes in for my point for all in one lane's chances against Guardian Gaming. Guardian Gaming is sitting at the top of their board right now, but they're not exactly like... I lost my train of thought for a second. I just got a message. Guardian Gaming... Bottom line, Guardian Gaming looks like the team that does happen to have the better guns right now. They look like the prime team that they had lost before, They do look like they can get themselves a good closure, where All in One Lane kind of lost a lot of momentum losing last week's game. So there's just nobody in here so far except for you, Manwalrus, that thinks that they've got the chance.
All right.
I mean, I'll just keep mine short and simple. First versus sixth. Done.
Oh my goodness. Please.
All right. Well, I guess my message then is just more, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. So,
Alright.
that's going to be the end of the
No,
round table segment.
wait, the round table, yes, but my percentages have not spoken yet. Nor have the changes in anyone's mind, which I think will be excellent. So, let's start off with you, Fridge, and also let's throw this out here as
I don't
well.
want the round table to be nearly as long, though, and we're edging on 27 minutes now.
I'll make it nice and quick then. All percentages are not scaled.
Yeah, alright, yeah, don't respond to people's percentages, just give percentages.
Okay.
Alright, can go over 100.
Every team that has already lost has an automatic 0%. So, starting with you, Fridge. Last time you had GG at 35%. What do you have them at now?
I put GG at around 40% now.
40% now. What about Never Back Down?
Never Back Down, I would say probably about 35.
35. All One Lane.
All One Lane, we'll put it at 15.
15. And Enemy United. Now, Naughty Nips?
45.
45%. Alright, dropping by 5%. Not too shabby. What about you, Army? Last time you had GG at 10%. What do you now have?
It's going to be way higher this time. I'm going to say they get 40% here.
Alright, 40%. What about Never Back Down? Have you had any faltering in their faith?
Lucking Fegendary.
Okay,
Gonna go with that again.
All Online?
30%.
And Naughty Nips.
50%.
50%. Alright, Manwalrus, back up to you. GG stays at what?
I would say 40%.
Okay, so it's even so far. Naughty Nips from 30 to what?
I didn't have them at 30 the last time.
Oh, I mean Never Back Down. Never Back Down.
Oh, Never Back Down? I'll give, I think, 40% as well.
Okay, All One Lane from 15% to...
To 50%.
50? Wait, what?
To 50%.
Okay, to
I think
50%.
I think both the series are going to be pretty close this week.
Alright, and Naughty Nips from 72.
To a 60.
Alright.
Ooh.
And I'm gonna round things off. I had so much faith and have faith from 70 straight to 0. I didn't believe it could happen, but anything's possible. The fact that Dart and Guardian are playing against a team I didn't think they'd be playing against, I'm actually going to drop them by 5%. Upset. This is their series to lose, so I'm going to go from 80 to 75. Here, for Never Back Down, the fact that they're facing Naughty Nips, I believe they actually now have a 65% chance of winning the whole thing. All One Lane, 20%, and I'm happy to announce that I'm now going to give Enemy United, now Naughty Nips, a percentage increase from 10% to 11%. I still have absolutely zero faith in this team making it in semifinals.
Ouch.
So,
You set yourself up so perfectly for that.
Alright, that's going to be the round table.